Australians are going to go to a referendum in the last quarter of this year, sometime from October onwards, to vote on an Aboriginal voice to Parliament. The idea that there should be a permanent body that represents Aboriginal views to parliamentarians and executive government, by the way. It's quite widespread. And this should be locked into the Constitution, so it can never be changed. There are many questions and doubts and concerns that I have about this, and others do too. But there are two fundamental ones. One is this point about race, that one particular race of people, albeit one that deserves special credit for having tamed this wide brown land before any other. But they're going to be given a special privileged position of an extra voice to Parliament. Some people have called it a third chamber. It's not quite that, but it's getting along that track. Whereas there'll be no Asian voice to Parliament, or, ageing Pommy voice to Parliament, anything like, none of that. Just one, which goes against the idea of citizenship, which is a thing that holds us together. The fact that we're all equal as Australian citizens and we have one higher loyalty to everything else, and that's our loyalty to Australia. That I think is...
I couldn't agree more. And I've been following this story as much as possible, and it worries me enormously that I think the whole idea is wrong, and it would undermine the idea of Australia, of modern Australia, and of Australian citizenship, which, as you say, should be based on equality. And if Australia introduces a constitutional stipulation that one particular race should have a permanent voice in the political sphere, I do worry that will undermine the whole modern Australian project of recent decades, which is citizenship and equality. And you are an Australian, you're not a race. You're an Australian, you're not a skin color. That's an idea really worth holding on to. And anything which interferes with that, especially at a constitutional level, I think has to be vigorously opposed. Now, I don't doubt whatsoever that Aboriginal people and Aboriginal communities were mistreated in the past. Of course, they still have a huge economic problems, and all of that should be addressed by Australian society and by Australian politicians. Of course it should. And if they feel that they are not equal members of Australian society for various reasons, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. But that is what needs to be looked at. How can you improve the genuine equality enjoyed by Aboriginal communities with the rest of Australian society? Not how can we bring them into the political sphere as a permanent voice on the basis of their racial heritage or their cultural heritage. That is a very dangerous idea. It counteracts entirely the modern idea that I think Western society should hold on to, which is that we don't care what color you are. We don't care what sex you are. We don't care what sexuality you are. We just care that you are a member of this society, and as a consequence, you enjoy certain rights, and then there are certain expectations of you as well. That's the idea worth holding on to. And that idea of equality, the kind of race-blind, sex-blind equality of citizenship, is under attack by the woke mob, and it really needs to be resisted.